asked people who have been working in the industry for quite some time, they would understand initially the Martech stack map looked very simple. I'm saying simple. It was not simple enough back then, but when we look at it now, it was like plain stack map with some databases, with some ETLs, maybe some, enrichment was not there, not to that extent, but email validations, CRM for people who were using CRM. Their marketing automation was not that visible that time. I would say it was mostly email marketing, and the email service providers were the core, right? People used a lot of databases to store their data, different for email, maybe a different one for sales, maybe a different one for reporting. Reporting was being used, and as the industry evolved, right, we started building more onto what like the smarter ways of doing things. So going back to the past, I think I tried to switch over to the present state. So past is mostly software as a service, less cloud, right? Past is mostly ETLs, databases, simple. If you look at any charts, for Martech stack maps, you would see very simple ways of adding data flowing from one system to the other system. Simple ways, simple ETLs, not too complicated. But back then, it seemed complicated because even to get those systems to talk to each other was a little tricky, right? We relied a lot on we were doing a lot of direct mails. We were doing TV advertisements. We were doing maybe banner ads, newspaper ads, and everything like that. And then eventually we, moved out of it, and which is the present state. What was less of an issue back then was privacy and compliance. Like, we knew there were certain things that probably HIPAA, anything telecom related was regulated very well. Anything healthcare related was regulated very well. But other than that, like, it was pretty flexible and easy enough for a marketer or sales to use data and start making robocalls, or even just calling people randomly, emailing them randomly without make like even a there was just an opt-out approach at that time, right? If people could unsubscribe, but there was really not any penalty of any kind. Like, if you could buy lists very easily, you could target people, purchasing data was fairly easy, which now has changed, and it will change furthermore in future. So that is all about like the past. Simple, more ways to communicate. I would say all possible channels were open at that time. I know we didn't have very sophisticated tools to communicate with the audience, but at least there was a way to reach out. There were not regulations or any compliance concerns back then, which made it easier for anybody to communicate with anyone, right? So that is past. The concern I raised it earlier too with past is no software as a service, not enough cloud based. Connecting systems was tricky. Seeing that end to end journey was very challenging just because of the same obvious reasons, right? Not everything talked to everything. And by everything, I mean the technologies. Not every technology talks to the other technology. And people would build uh, they'll develop something in house to make those things talk to each other, and sometimes things break because if you try to build your own stuff, right, which has now changed. So if we talk about present, right now we have much more sophisticated technologies where we get a lot of enrichment data. You just give your list to a vendor and they'll enrich the data for you. There are a lot of technologies that are doing that. Some of those I would like to mention are like lead space. Zoom Info does that. We also people also use Bombora for intent data. So you get intent signals depending on what industry you're from, B2B, B2C, and also what vertical you're from. You can use multiple vendors to give you much more than the user has actually given you, which is, user will give this the basic PII, which is, their name, email address. Sometimes, well, most of the times you would need much more than that. So enrichment, intent data, that definitely gives much more, to the user, to the marketing team, and to the sales team, so that they can uh, target people, bucket people properly, target them properly, create email campaigns, or very curated content and journeys for them. That helps them a lot. Having said that, we're still buying lists, even though we know that right now we have GDPR, we have Castle, we have CCPA, and Australia has its own regulations, and multiple other countries and states within US are also coming up with their own regulations, which means that more flexibility to the user to opt out from whatever they want, from being tracked on the website, like cookie blocking and everything. And also, just not allowing any tracking at all. Not like they have flexibility to get themselves removed from our databases, or maybe part of the data removed from the databases. And then it's very difficult to sell or buy data as well at this point. um, so there are challenges that we're facing currently with the privacy and compliance, but at least the enrichment data is working. Account-based marketing is working, because account-based, like anything that has nothing to do with PII is still working. I would say, like any way you can track a user based on IP addresses or his PII is a bit challenging, right? So the technologies, like with the Marketo being acquired, we use Marketo, and a lot of other companies use Marketo for email marketing, right? So Marketo, sophisticated tools for marketing automation, proper CRM systems, and those tools working in direction to make the companies enable, integrate those technologies properly. Like Marketo talks to Salesforce very well, and then Marketo got acquired by Adobe, so now Adobe is working into getting Marketo very well integrated with Adobe products, right? So earlier we were buying products like and trying to build integrations ourselves. Now we are buying like solutions, wherein it is, you get a solution and you buy product for that, multiple products from one company. Some companies do that, some don't. But what happens is that once you buy something that fits very well in your overall stack map, like if you're Adobe product person and if you go for Marketo, then that means that you will have an option to use the standard integration that the company has to offer, right? And not you're not building something by yourself. Then there are some other technologies that help you integrate, like Tray.io, Workato, Zapier, all those Boomi, all those ETLs. They are also very enhanced from a features perspective, and they can do a lot of stuff that you were doing yourself before, right? And that further makes it very easy to build that end-to-end model, and see how the user is flowing throughout the funnel. So that's working right now. The challenges that we have is, again, spam bots. We have compliance issues, right? And then our ability to track the user has reduced, right? And it'll further reduce in future. So which means that we'll be going for different kinds of solution in future. Future will look very different than what it is right now, and what we have right now is very different than what it was before. So in past, the teams were, it was very standard to have like one marketing team and multiple departments within marketing. One team would be responsible for list purchases, one team would be responsible for email marketing, one team would be responsible for field like events, right? And one for webinars, maybe. And whatever channels you have, there's one dedicated team for every channel. That has not changed drastically in present. Even now we have very similar teams. It's just that with the evolving technologies that we are getting, especially for ABM, and even for like webinars, the technologies change so frequently. Events, we went from physical events to virtual events now, right? And it will change in future, hopefully. So as we get more and more products, like sophisticated products, clever technologies that can help you do a lot more things automated, so that you have more to offer to the user, uh, the team, I would say, the size of the team increases, and as well as you might add a few more not departments, but just teams underneath the departments. Maybe you have one for physical events and you have one for virtual events, or maybe it's a hybrid team that can work on both, right? The departments that we definitely added in present, which were not there in past, are anything that has to do with custom objects for. Because we're trying to get more and more data into our systems, Salesforce, Marketo, whatever it is, you're trying to get like add-on data either from product or from enrichment, or from intent signals. So that has changed. So which means you're investing a lot more in predictive, you're investing a lot more in intent, a lot more in ABM. So you keep on adding that staff to the team, that talent to the team. But that mean that you're removing people from the team? Well, whatever we were doing past, we're still doing that. It's not that anything has gone away. People still do paper ads. People still do direct mails. The volume might have reduced, but whatever we were doing in past, we're still doing that plus a lot more. So and now we're looking for talent that is hybrid in nature, like as in not just not just email, but maybe more than email, right? If they are a person who know, let's say, email plus data, right, or email plus analytics, teams prefer that. Not mandatory. Every company is different. Everybody has, these days what I'm noticing is that people try to, whenever they publish a job on the portal, they're trying to fill for a very specific profile, and the asks are very specific too. Like, people don't make generic requests. And the reason for that is because the earlier person that left was might be doing a lot of hybrid work. They were not just data people, they might also be ETL folks, right? So we're trying to fill in for that, and that's what will be is here to stay, I would say. Wherein more you learn, and not just from what you're doing, but rather any team that you're working with, if you can learn from what they're doing, it'll definitely help you, and it'll look good on your resume. It'll also be beneficial when you try to either grow within the company or outside the company. If you have more than the standard skills that your job role has to offer, if you can do more than that, you might better fit in at a different company or within the company as well. Like I said, that's what I see in present. A lot of people say that future would look very much like past, and I don't disagree. Whatever tactics we were using in past, we might start investing more into those. And I've said this before: we've not discarded those tactics at all. It's just the volume currently is low because we have multiple other ways to reach out to the user, right? So marketing tech stack for future, I would say people will be doing more direct mails because, again, regulatory compliance, a little lenient on direct mails, print ads, banner ads. You'll see multiple boardings on like maybe airports or wherever you go, right? So you'll see more of that. There'll be, I know people do the tracking even now, the eyeball tracking for those. I think those technologies will also, people start investing in those technologies too, because if they're doing that kind of investment there, they would definitely want to see what's the return on investment, right? So those technologies will definitely, flourish. And then we have what else? For future, I think till now we've said content is king, right? Everybody says content is king. I would say, well, some companies say customer is king, and I would say the customer is king will be very true for going forward in future, because whoever is your customer, the main goal will be retention and upsell to those people, right? It'll be difficult to get a prospect, an unknown person, to become a lead or a prospect for you, right? Or an MQL for you, because obvious reasons you cannot track them. Most of them won't be trackable. So you cannot create very targeted ads for them, right? Target them very well. So which is why it is very easy. I wouldn't say easy. I would say it's better to invest in what you have, the customers that you have, and just do make sure that you are able to retain them, make sure that you are able to maybe upsell them. And the third opportunity that you have is referrals, right? Some companies do that. Some people don't invest heavily on referrals. I would say, at least for B2B, it becomes very important to build a relationship with your customers and get referrals from them, because if they refer someone, it is very like it's very likely that, well, they like you, that's why they referred somebody, right? And it's highly likely that the person that they referred will also become a potential customer for you, right? So easiest is to, whatever your customers, just go for them. Make sure that your product is bug free, they're happy with your service, not just the product, but like support, implementations, trainings, whatever you're doing with the customers, notifications, like everything is 100% accurate, and also at par with whatever they want. So great service, that will definitely help in long run. The other thing that I have for future is, we all know, compliance is here to grow. So we'll see more and more of that coming in. We will not be able to buy lists. That's why my assumption is, unless people can get around it, and or maybe there are companies that do that opt-in stuff for us beforehand, and they will still be able to buy lists, right? um, Intent signals, bots, another thing, we will see that. uh, Bots, people are using those now too, mostly for chats, right? But email bots will be more popular, is what I see. Wherein, because you don't know who you're talking to, right? It's better to build a journey wherein if somebody responds a certain way, there is a bot that sends an email accordingly, and then bot qualifies people, and then your team actually works on folks. The marketing works on folks that are actually interested, right? So right now, people are doing that themselves, wherein the marketing will build the journeys for you and then qualify the people for you. In future, I think bots might take over the first stage, where they qualify somebody, and then your team then works on it, because we're just throwing arrows in the dark at this point, at that point, right? So let bots do that. And then we have predictive models. Yes, predictive models. We have some companies build predictive models to make sure that they understand what their users are doing, and not just for the current customers, but even for um, the leads or prospects or MQLs, pre MQLs in your database, to understand. Like for customers, you want to understand uh, how they're performing, and if it's end of contract, how likely is it for them to renew the contract. So those are the kind of models that you build for an existing customer, right? uh, for leads, you can build models, invest in building models that can help you understand, and how likely is it for somebody who is very early stage to be become a customer. Or when you buy a list from somewhere, how likely is it that people from bucket A, how likely are they to become customers, versus it could be based on their demographic properties, it could be behavioral properties, or any other enrichment data that you're getting, or intent signals that you're getting. But those predictive models will come in handy, because you will not get direct signals from them anyways, because of lack of tracking. So predictive would not just be looking at the data within your system, but I would say rather, there will be companies that might sell that kind of data online, just demographic, not a person specific data, but maybe industry specific data, a region specific data, age specific data, right? If you're a B2C customer, you might want to, like if you're targeting youth, right? So if there is data available on the internet for youth, on what their likings are, what their dislikes are, then you can target your content accordingly, right? So it doesn't have to be like a user specific, right? It can be very generic, demographic specific, and you will see a boom in that industry too. I hope there is boom. Otherwise, there is like very little hope from what we can do in future, apart from what we were doing in past. Um, yeah, that's in a nutshell that it is. That's all it is, right? Whatever we have in past, plus enrichment, plus the models, predictive models, and referrals and customers.